Good morning and welcome to the second day of our very pre-PDAC mining showcase. I'm Taylor Combaluzier, a mining analyst at Red Cloud Securities. We would like to extend our thanks to Pear Tree for sponsoring this session. Our first presenter of the day is Michael Thompson, who's the president and CEO of Kesselrun Resources Limited. Kesselrun is currently focused on exploration at its HURONIAN project located in northwestern Ontario, and it also owns the Bluff Point project on the same structural trend as New Gold's Rainy River mine. Mike, you'll have 15 minutes for the presentation, and then we'll have 5 minutes for Q&A at the end of the session. Please take it away.
Thanks, Taylor. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Thanks for joining. So Kesselrun Resources, we're exploring for near-surface high-grade gold in northwestern Ontario. Skip it quick. So northwestern Ontario is a great jurisdiction, mining-friendly, underexplored, hosts several multi-million ounce gold deposits. As Taylor said, we are concentrating our efforts on our 100% owned HURONIAN project, which hosts a past producer and a historic resource. We are fully funded to execute the exploration in 2022. A little rundown of our cap structure, KES on the venture exchange. We're trading around 8 cents or so, 94 million shares outstanding, 118 fully diluted, just shy of 5 million now, cash and cash equivalents. Institutions own about 20%. Friends, family, high net worth investors, sort of, just over 10%. Management and insiders, myself, I'm a big shareholder, just shy of 10%. So there's a quick overview of the team, led by myself. I'm a geologist with over 20 years experience, worked for Teck, Placer back in the day, based out of Thunder Bay. John's the CFO, runs a management consulting firm in Vancouver. Rodney just joined the team last year. He's as VP Corporate Development. And then rounding out the board, Catlin Jeffs and Yana. Catlin's a geologist working down in Chile, and Yana is an accountant out of Vancouver. So there's northwestern Ontario, at least the southern half of it. For those of you familiar with the area, just north of that image is the sort of the Red Lake area. So a little bit more familiar ground, but this portion, we believe is highly underexplored, highly undervalued, but hosts great geology, very prospective. New Gold's Rainy River mine, as Taylor mentioned, up the structural trend is our Bluff Point project. Lots of multi-million ounce development projects as well. Most notably, the Moss Lake project that Gold Shore Resources is working, hosting an historic resource of just over 3 million ounces. They're right next door to our HURONIAN project, which is what we're concentrating on. It's about 100 kilometers west of Thunder Bay, where I'm based. Great infrastructure, lots of roads. So the project is located on a major logging road that runs south from the Trans-Canada Highway, about 15 kilometers. As I mentioned, 100% owned. Project's about 4,600 hectares, outlined in blue on this figure. And there's in red is Gold Shore's Moss Lake deposit project. So we're concentrating our efforts in and around the historic mine. It's a past producer from the 30s, a high-grade producer. And the surrounding zones around the mine that host that historic resource of about 500,000 ounces at ballpark half an ounce per ton. As you can see in the geology from the Moss Lake deposit runs onto the southern half of our project as well. So very good package of rocks. Just a quick little history. So it was discovered in 1871. The HURONIAN mine it was developed as northwestern Ontario's first gold mine. Commercial production in the 30s, saw intermittent work in the 80s and 90s. We picked it up in 2016 from Pele Gold, who put the package together from about 14 different vendors, small little postage stamps of developers, local prospectors, and that. So quite fortunate to have a consolidated land package. 2016, we started working the project. We compiled the data, got it all digital, ground truthed, got it all, everything in the right space, did a lot of modeling and targeting, and then boots on the ground work. We did lots of mapping and overburden trenching and some mag geophysics. Came up with a new structural interpretation, discovered a few new zones, kicked off 2020 with a 3,000 meter drill program, and we drilled just shy of 20,000 meters last year. So we're around 23,000 meters completed by the end of 21. And 22, we're going to continue that exploration, continue to outline, grow the footprint of the known zones and outline some new zones as well. And as well as advance that some targets in that southern part of the project. I'll touch on it a bit. So there's a bit more detailed sort of shot of the geology of the area. You can see the outline of the pit that was proposed in the PEA that was done by Westdome, the former owner of the project, that spun it into Goldshore mid last year. And then you can see that Moss Gold Trend runs onto the southern part of our project. We've started working down there, getting the developing targets and getting them drill ready. The flexure in that shear zone, we think, is the key sort of component of focusing gold mineralization. We think we've got another flexure approximately in the center, and then another one further into the southwest corner. But our focus has been up on the Huronian Gold Trend, which is the host of that historic mine and the historic resource. And again, that flexure we think is a key component. So there's a zoom in of that, the mine area. You can see the three shafts of the Huronian zone. That was the historically mined zone, the Huronian zone in red there. And the historic resource was done on the McKellar zone, the Fisher zone, and then the Fisher North zone. Previous interpretations had the zone running through McKellar up past these shafts and actually extending through Fisher North, and that Fisher North zone was interpreted as the strike extent of the Huronian zone. And once we got all that data into space, 3D space accurately, ground truthed it, did some geophysics and trenching to prove the thesis. We believe and we're confident that Huronian zone trends up sort of in a north-northeast direction. So we've been concentrating our drilling predominantly on the Fisher zone and surrounding area. Point out these red structures off the Fisher zone are Huronian parallel structures that are really the high-grade gold mineralizing structures or orientation. So they're parallel or subparallel to Huronian, Fisher North, these subzones. McKellar and Fisher are earlier zones, and where these two things intersect, the Fisher, the blue zone, and these red zones intersect, we are high-grade blowouts. But again, we've been concentrating our efforts drilling off Fisher and McKellar with a smaller percentage on Huronian, the down plunge, and in the Fisher North area. There's a shot of the mine back in the 30s looking to the southeast. So the three shafts that were on that previous image, there's one right here, the middle one with that plume of steam or smoke coming out. And then there's this more southern shaft is just off that shot. But you can notice that they just dumped all the waste rock over the edge of the slope and buried the zone. And so the surface expression of the zone was never seen past the 30s. So we dug some trenches in 2020 to get eyes on it through it. So that picture on the left would be just almost right beside that middle shaft where that steam is coming out, and that possibly see a little bit of that fence there around the old shaft. So yeah, we gained some valuable information from that. We got some great results from grab samples and that out of the trench. Helped us better focus on our drilling at Huronian, on the Huronian zone. So there's the long section of the Huronian zone. The shear zone, as you could tell from the last picture, was about 10 meters wide. And then there's multiple quartz veins, high-grade quartz veins through it. The old timers predominantly mined out just the best of the quartz veins. So we believe there is a lot of remnant mineralization in not only the host rock, but the quartz veins through that sort of 10-meter wide shear zone. So we decided we would start drilling in and amongst the stopes, number one, to prove the thesis that there was remnant mineralization, and second, to better understand the nature of the mineralization so we could better target outside the actual workings area. You can see we were successful, some quite good results, hole 54 there, 16 grams over about 4 meters. You know, lots of high grade left, lots of mineralization left, and we're just starting to work our way down plunge. There's a shot of the Fisher and Fisher North zones, and I like this shot. It shows the proximity of the zones. They're actually quite close, which you might not be able to quite realize from a figure. But and there's the drill. This shot was actually in 2020 when we first started drilling. And you can see, you know, the late fault in the Fisher shear zone, and these Huronian type structures you can see in the outcrop crossing it. And you know, there's bigger ones. There's a big one right through this low lake area through the crossroads there, and we've got quite a big blowout there. Again, it's a slate dilational feature, intersection of those zones, and the early Fisher type zone and the later Huronian structures, and then you get these stacked high grade shoots. So we've been working hard. You know, the zone was known when we acquired the project, but it had only been drilled down to approximately 75 meters depth at its deepest, but actually shallower for the most part. So we've been working hard, following it down plunge, expanding that footprint. Very successful. We're about 400 meters by 200 meters depth. Lots of high grade results, you know, and you know, moderate widths with quite good grade, 6 grams over 6-ish meters, 6 grams over 10 meters, highlighted by some quite big blowouts, you know, where you get 6 grams over 45 meters or 15 or over 5. So as mentioned, this was our last news release. We sort of pieced it together. We originally thought that only where these structures intersected the Fisher zone would they be, the grade would be concentrated, but we found that there's actually quite a bit of grade, and we pieced it together outside the actual Fisher zone. So we think there's quite a lot of potential to add resource potential in these zones, and we think there's a lot more zones throughout it. There's a lot more historic drill intercepts that have not been modeled, and we think with further drilling we'll be able to start flushing these out. So we're quite excited at all these zones in close proximity. There's some pictures of the core, just some gratuitous visible gold shots, and nature of the alteration: albite, sericite, quartz flooding, quartz veining. McKellar, so that's a good shot. Shows the shear zone. It's 10 meters wide with these quartz veins. That's quite typical of McKellar, quite typical of Fisher and Huronian, and a little bit of shots of the sort of the higher grade veins crossing the more moderate grading veins, and that's where you get those blowouts. As I said, McKellar is just off the southwest of the old mine working. So again, about the same as Fisher. It was only drilled to sort of 75-ish meters depth at its deepest. It was only about 100 meters in strike length. So we worked hard extending that strike length to about 600 meters, and we've got it down to about 150 meters so far. Quite same as Fisher, 6 grams over 6 meters, highlighted by some some higher grade intercepts. There's 100 grams over almost 2 meters. Quite fantastic. We think there's a lot more potential to the southwest. We're going to work hard to extending that as well. Kilometers of strike length left to explore, which we've just started touching on. And again, more gratuitous visible gold shots. Continued drilling success. We've been very successful. We've extended the footprint of all the zones, Huronian, McKellar, and Fisher, extending those high-grade shoots down plunge, identified further high-grade shoots. Fisher, we've discovered multiple zones in close proximity, which I think is really a game changer in that area and for the property as a whole. And then Huronian zone, we proved the thesis of that remnant resource potential in the workings area, and we've just started extending that zone down plunge. So multiple zones, lots of potential left, barely scratched the surface. We've completed 23,000 meters at the end of 21. Next phase of drilling, we're going to concentrate on expanding those zones, discovering, outlining new zones in the Fisher and Huronian area, and I'll just skip over Bluff Point, but and working that Moss Southwest, we'll be starting to drill that and hope, have high expectations that we're going to find Moss type mineralization down there. So multiple high grade and bulk tonnage targets on the properties. Limited exploration, really only shallow so far, top tier jurisdiction. Lots of high grade gold intercepts, and we're fully funded for 2022.
Great. Thank you very much for that excellent presentation, Mike. So we do have some questions here. So kind of first off, just on the drill program that you mentioned going into 2022, do you kind of have a breakdown of, maybe rough proportions of which zones you're going to be focusing on with that?
I would say a good solid 50% is going to be in the Fisher general area of the Fisher zone. Off the cuff, sort of 25% down in McKellar, another 15% at Huronian, and then let's call it 10. I don't know if that added up to 100, but 10-ish to the sort of the Moss Southwest target and some other green targets that we're going to do some testing on.
Okay, great. And the with that, I guess being at Fisher and with those new high grade zones that were identified, how, I guess, maybe just give us a sense of how much work or how much or what it will take, I guess, to bring in kind of more of those subzones into a potential kind of resource down the road.
Yeah, I mean, the bonus is that we can hit multiples of these with the same hole. They're in such close proximity, and we're actually drilling. Realized we could drill Fisher and then extend the hole down and target Huronian, and then we started getting hits outside the two zones, and we're trying to piece it together and started incorporating with those historic results. There's a lot left, so it's just a numbers game. We just gotta put the drill holes into it and hit it hard.
Right, and from that comment, I guess a lot of the drilling you're going to do is you're going to try to target like multiple zones and kind of maximize each drill hole essentially to.
Exactly, and that's the bonus of the property, especially in that area. It's very cost-effective drilling.
Okay, great. And then is there any update on the second drill rig that you've been looking to bring up, right?
Yeah, I mean, as everybody knows, it's tough getting drills. As I'm a stickler for my 3C's cost, capacity, and capability. So I'm a little bit picky, and I'd rather delay a little bit and make sure I got the right contractor. So I think we got the right one, and should be on the property in the next couple of weeks.
Perfect. So with that, we are right out of time. So thank you very much, Mike, and everybody.
Thank you.